I've lived on my family's farm my entire life. It's not just home, it's part of my bloodline. My grandfather bought the land after World War II, slowly expanding it over the decades. The farm stretched across rolling fields, an orchard, a section of pine forest, and the centerpiece, a beautiful lake fed by an underground spring. The lake was our pride, clear as glass, full of fish, and surrounded by tall grasses that swayed in the summer breeze. The farm sat on the edge of what was once nothing but countryside. But over the past 15 years, housing developments started popping up. One of them was Maplewood Estates, an HOA-run neighborhood that had been built just past the north fence line. At first, I didn't mind. People need homes, and I figured neighbors could be friendly. The problem? The developers didn't bother to tell the new residents that the lake was on my private property. They built their neighborhood right up to the edge of it, and even landscaped the north bank with picnic tables, its benches, and a little gravel path that led straight into the water for kayaks. At first, I let it slide. I figured a few people sitting by the water wasn't going to hurt anything. But then came the fishing, the trash, and the noise. Teenagers would blast music at night, leaving beer cans in the grass. Families would have barbecues and leave grease stains on the dock my father built decades ago. I even caught one guy with a generator-powered light rig, fishing after midnight like it was his personal tournament. I posted signs, private property, no trespassing, but they were ignored. Then, one hot Saturday afternoon, I walked down to the dock to fish and found a family of 6 sprawled out on my chairs, their cooler blocking the path. When I politely told them this was private property, the dad smirked and said, "No, it's not. This lake is for the community. The HOA said so." That was my first real sign that the problem wasn't ignorance, it was entitlement. The HOA gets involved a week later. I received a letter in the mail with a Maplewood Estates letterhead, claimed that I was engaging in unauthorized use of community property by monopolizing the lake, and that I was to cease all exclusive activity immediately. I laughed at first. Then I reread the letter. You're ordering me to stop using my own lake. I called the number at the bottom and got patched through to the HOA president, a woman named Brenda, whose voice carried the kind of smug authority that comes from holding power over a cul-de-sac. She explained slowly and condescendingly that the lake is part of the neighborhood's recreational amenities, and that, as a non-resident, had no right to exclude paying members from it. I interrupted her. "Brenda, I own the lake." She gave a short laugh like I'd told her a bad joke. "The developers told us the lake was community property, and they lied," I said. "My family has owned this land since 1948. The lake's in the middle of our property. Your neighborhood doesn't own an inch of it." Well, she sniffed. "If you'd like to bring paperwork, we can review it at the next HOA board meeting." The meeting now? I've been to my fair share of town meetings, but nothing prepared me for an HOA board session. It was held in their community center, which was really just a large shed with folding chairs. I brought the original deed, a survey map, and the tax records. When my turn came, I explained the situation. The lake was mine, the dock was mine, and the north shore their residents used was mine too. I passed the paperwork to the board. Brenda flipped through the documents without actually reading them. "These could be anything," she said, waving a hand dismissively. "Our records show the lake is an amenity of Maplewood Estates."
"They show?"
"Me," I said. They produced a glossy binder full of marketing materials from the developer photos of the lake, labeled Community Fishing Lake, with a little bullet list about exclusive resident access. But there was no legal description, no property lines, nothing official. "That's not a deed," I told them. "That's a brochure." Brenda leaned back. "Well, regardless of ownership, the lake is clearly intended for community use. If you continue to restrict access, we will pursue legal action." The real trump card. This was where they made their fatal mistake. I had been patient until now. They didn't realize that not only did I own the lake, but the only road access to it from their side ran through a gravel parking lot, which I also owned. That little parcel had been part of a land swap my father made with the county decades ago. It sat right between Maplewood's walking trail and the lakefront. Without it, The residents would have to walk over a mile through dense woods to get to the water. I smiled. All right, you do what you think you need to do. In the meantime, I'm putting up a fence. The fence goes up 2 days later. I had a crew installing a tall wooden fence along my property line, with a locked gate blocking the parking lot entrance. I posted no trespassing signs every 50 feet and installed trail cameras. The first weekend after the fence went up, I could hear the confusion from my porch. People arriving with fishing gear and coolers, standing around the locked gate, looking like someone had just stolen Christmas. By Sunday afternoon, I got another letter from the HOA, this time much angrier. They accused me of blocking community amenities and demanded I remove the fence, immediately to avoid further escalation. The lawyer enters the chat, hired an attorney who drafted a formal letter to the HOA. It included a copy of the original deed, showing my family's ownership of the lake and surrounding property, tax records proving I paid for the land annually, a cease and desist notice, ordering them to stop promoting the lake as their own, a warning that any trespassers would be prosecuted. The letter also politely reminded them that I owned the parking lot, that their residents' continued use of it without permission could result in towing. 3 days later, Brenda called. Me personally, her tone had changed. She was less smug, more careful. Perhaps we can reach an arrangement, she said. I told her I'd think about it. The standoff for weeks, the HOA tried to negotiate. They offered to lease the lake from me for a pitiful monthly sum in exchange for exclusive resident access. I declined. Then they tried to threaten me with bad publicity. I laughed. Their little newsletter wasn't exactly the New York Times. Meanwhile, I enjoyed the peace and quiet. No more beer cans. No more midnight fishing tournaments. The fish population started bouncing back. I even saw a pair of swans nesting on the South Shore for the first time in years. The final blow it all came to a head when one of their residents decided to ignore the fence entirely. He parked on the road, hopped over the fence with a kayak, and paddled out onto the lake. Fortunately for him, one of my trail cameras caught everything. And the sheriff's deputy who responded happened to be an old family friend. The trespasser was fined, and word spread fast through Maplewood that the lake guy wasn't bluffing. Then my attorney sent the HOA one last letter, a formal revocation of any implied permission for their residents to use the parking lot, trails, or any part of my property. Signs went up warning of towing at the owner's expense. Within a week, the HOA had to hold an emergency meeting to address the loss of community lake access. Epilogue months later, the north shore of the lake was overgrown again, benches sitting unused and weather-worn. The HOA quietly stopped advertising the lake in their promotional materials. I heard from a neighbor that Brenda had stepped down as president, citing stress. As for me, I fish off my dock in peace now. The swans come back every spring, and the quiet is worth more than any lease payment they could have offered. And every time I walk past that locked gate, I smile because the truth is simple. If you come after what's mine, you'd better be ready to find out exactly how much of it I own.